And welcome everyone to this session at Black Tech Fest. And I'm super excited to make it happen, because for those who aren't aware, there's been major movements and quick stuff behind the scenes to bring us together today. But the wonder of technology means that me and Ed, although about 3,000 miles away, are listening in real time. That's amazing. But I'm actually not going to do too much of an introduction because Ed will do a better one. So for those who aren't aware, do explore all the stuff on blacktechfest.com. Do check out all of our amazing content and DataMinr in particular, because that's the first spoiler which I'll break in terms of where Ed is coming at this from. But I'm going to jump right into this and ask Ed to tell us a little bit about who he is, what he does, and who he works for.
Yeah, and Ashley, thanks. Really glad to be here. It's great to represent DataMinr and be a part of this whole experience and what's going with color and tech. So, thanks for having me and giving me a chance to chat with you a bit. My name is Ed Oliver. I am a customer success VP for DataMinr, which is a US-based company headquartered in New York City. And we are a real-time information platform providing real-time information about critical events that go on around the world and provide our clients with awareness so that they can manage their risks and keep their people and assets safe.
So let me just dive in immediately off piste. So when you say critical information, like if there's a hurricane coming, if there's an earthquake going on, what do you mean when you say critical?
It could be anything from earthquakes and weather disasters to terrorist events to geopolitical issues. You name it. It could be any of those kinds of things. So all the activities happening in Afghanistan a few months ago, any of the process activity that's happening around vaccines and XR in London and New York, etc. All the COVID information that's occurred over the last, well, it feels like 10 years, but it's probably just, it's only 19 months. So any and everything where things happen, people need to know, need to make decisions and take action on, we're providing that sort of information.
So again, if I continue like skiing down that slope slightly, I've got to ask that question in terms of, so immediately when I think about this as my tech head, I'm thinking that's a lot of data, like a lot of data. Like how does that happen? Like what sources of, where do you get this from? Are you monitoring Twitter? Like what is this?
Yeah, it's a great question. So we use AI and machine learning. We're scouring thousands, over 200,000 different types of publicly available data sources. So that could be social media, that could be across the publicly available web, that could be information of things sensors. It could be even a little bit of information come from the deep and dark web from a cyber perspective. I think broad range of publicly available information, and then think all sorts of types. It could be text, it could be imagery, it could be sound, it could be, again, databases of sensor information. We're pulling that information together, we're analyzing it. We have a massive archive, over 10 years of an archive of looking at real-time information via social media primarily, but using that methodology to understand how information comes in, how it's developed, how it breaks, and how it can be useful and informative to the world to, again, provide awareness when things are happening. And it's all done in real time. So it's not so much of, hey, this happened hours ago or days ago, you should have some sense or understanding of it. It's literally, this happened moments ago, and here's what's going on next. And here's maybe what you should do. Here's how it is related to your company within proximity of your locations, with the proximity of your people traveling in that part of the world. Here's how it might impact your overall brand and reputation from a crisis perspective. So really, again, providing institutions, corporations, news organizations, public sector institutions with an understanding of what's going on in real time so that they can then take the next step to manage risk, manage crisis management, and also to keep their people and assets safe.
Got it. So, I mean, immediately, I'm actually thinking, is there anyone who's interested in data, big data, machine learning, AI, like that's, even social media, that's your bag. Like they should, give you guys a look at and check you out.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I like to say jokingly, whenever your friends or family ask me, oh, did you hear about what happened today? I've known about it hours earlier because I'm constantly tapped into our platform and our system and knowing what we're providing to our customers. And so it's really finger on the pulse type information, where when something happens, you're fully aware of it the moment it happens, and you're also aware of the evolution of that situation as well. So being well informed and being well informed as timely and quickly as possible is really critical these days, and we're really excited to be on the forefront of that.
Got it. So talking about being on the forefront, I've got to share a little bit of a digression, and we've definitely gone off piece, but I'm enjoying the ride here in the sense of so my background, not that anyone really cares that much because we're here to listen to you, Ed, so I'll keep it brief. But actually one of my first roles was in customer success. And when you talk about being on the forefront, it's a bit like drinking from a fire hose and and trying to turn the tap off while you're doing it. It's kind of like it's a mixture of things coming left and right, you know, straight at you, being at the forefront. And I can only imagine how that is when you're dealing with basically real-time breaking information. So let me roll back and first of all ask you to tell us a little bit about what you actually do in terms of your, you know, your role and your day to day, and then I'll kind of come back to setting the scene about how customer success has evolved and actually why that's an interesting area for folks who are interested in our industry.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, customer success, to me, I'm biased because I do it, but I think it's the best job in tech. It's the best job in SaaS if you're working for a SaaS organization. Frankly, it's the best job in any large organization, because any business like ours who deals with customers, who needs to operate based on continuing to have our customers renew and retain their business, it's really important for our customers to be successful. And my role at the company is to literally be my customer's trusted advisor. I work on behalf of DataMinr. I represent the company. I bring a certain amount of subject matter expertise to our customers about how our platform works, how they can leverage the platform in the most efficient and effective way. But really, it's about understanding their needs, frankly, being empathetic to what they need and to their situations and their operation, really dive in and learn about it so that I can then turn around and provide them with an understanding of how to use our platform for their specific use case and needs and be effective doing it. And so it's really fun because it's, there's never a dull moment. Even though I have customers mostly in a single industry around financial services, they're all different in various ways, and I have different challenges and different successes with each of them in different ways. So it's dynamic, and that's the thing I love about it the most, that there's always something going on. And frankly, because of the type of company I work for, with DataMinr being a company, again, at the forefront, in the middle, the finger on the pulse of what's going on in the world, that in combination with the work I do with our customers just makes it a really exciting job. And I love the work that I do every day with the customers that I work with.
I always say that to folks who are looking to start their careers in tech. I actually like go and start at customer success. And for anyone who's interested in getting in the industry, I think that's the best part. One, because you don't need to be massively technical. I mean, if you're good with people, that's a really good entry point for a lot of folks who aren't, massively technical like myself. But also, you get a real good understanding of the business because you have to understand the product, you have to understand how we sell it, how we market it, who our customers are, what our competitors are doing. You get a 360 view of everything basically because you need to, and I think it's a really great start. But let me go back to one of the things, because one of the things I learned from customer success was let's call it managing expectations, because I think one of the key things is, and in life, as everyone listening to this will know, humans always want, and it doesn't mean that we can get what we want. So if I roll back, we actually at Black Tech Fest have a session actually from an author, a lady called Jade B, who wrote a book called Keisha the Scare. And the substance of the book isn't really where we're going to go to now. But what was interesting about that is it was one of the first things to go viral. Now, this is virality before Twitter existed. I mean, I think Twitter was founded in 2006. Like, this was on SMS, on MSN Messenger, on AOL, back when like you had to take out the plug and like listen to that sound when you were getting onto the internet.
Oh, yes,
Like,
I remember.
this was early in the day of like this tech thing. And what was really, I think, interesting in that conversation, which I encourage everyone to listen to as well, is that there is an evolving expectation on on everything. So, for example, Jade, the author of that, didn't blow up on Twitter because Twitter didn't exist at the time. But actually now, like if that was to come out now in some different shape or format, overnight, you've got 500,000 followers and you're an influencer now.
Mhm.
And I actually think there's a similar parallel actually with SaaS, where back in the day people didn't expect stuff. I mean, when you had to go on, well, you probably shouldn't have gone on Napster, but to find whatever source of music you were listening to, you didn't expect it to happen seamlessly and instantly. Where now it's like I press one button and my music streaming service doesn't start playing the song. I'm like, what's going on? Like, how dare they? Like, customer expectations have evolved like as fast as the internet, if not faster, because I think we now expect more than even stuff we get to deliver. So, I reflect on that and I ask you from your experience, how have you seen customer expectations evolve, develop? Um, and what are some of the things that you've learned along the way as a leader doing that now, managing those expectations?
Yeah, it's a really interesting question. I mean, I think, you're right, it is about expectations. And our role in customer success, literally, that's all we do is manage customer expectations. But we also manage product managers' expectations internally. We manage our sales leaders' expectations. We manage, the organization's expectations, frankly, about what our customers think about our products, whether they see value or not. And it's our job to make sure that we make those connections so that the right expectations are set, the right expectations are delivered, and everybody stays happy. But I think from a perspective of data, big data, and what our customers do and how they look at us and the expectations they have from our product, if you think about the evolution of data, to your point about something going viral and how different it is, 5 years ago it was different, never mind 15 or 20 years ago. But just the way that there's so much information available, there's so many ways of sharing information, there's so many outlets for people to learn about things. The key is to get the right information in the right place at the right time. And that's really a lot about what we do. And so with the expectation we set for our customers is we're ingesting over 200,000 different data sources. We're looking at billions of data units on a daily basis, hundreds of languages, multiple versions of different types of formats. And we're going to provide you with a true understanding, a real-time understanding of what's going on with topics and categories that you care about in places that you care about at the time that matters most, so that you can make the right decision or even a better decision that you might have made in the past. And so that's the expectation that they have from us. That's the expectation that we try to set and to manage. And the key is to ride the wave of this dynamic world that we're in, because there's always something new. There's always a new situation breaking. There's always a new source of information, a new platform that people are interested in, and we're having to constantly stay on top of those. And so it's a really fun challenge, frankly. It reminds me a lot of my old days prior to being in tech. I was a trader. I worked on Wall Street and I traded stocks, and no day was ever the same. You had to constantly think ahead and be on your feet, be quick on your feet, and try to figure out what to do in that moment. You had a plan, but the plan often got torn up and thrown away, and you just had to react and go off of instinct. So I think it's really interesting to think about the dynamic world we're in, the dynamic world of information and data, whether you're a financial services company, whether you're a news organization, whether you're a government entity, whether you're a digital marketing company, information is key there. And how we help our customers understand data, how we help our customers understand how to use it more efficiently, and how well we understand our customers themselves really makes the difference in how we can meet and exceed those expectations that they have from us.
So one question on that: what makes someone really good at customer success then? Is it the ability to say no?
I think that is one of the abilities, frankly, because it's very easy. And I think this is, to your point about, I think we mentioned before, the horror stories of being in customer success, and so customer success, we're post-sale. And so the sales happen, the account executive has, maybe made some promises or set some expectations for that customer, and now they're looking for us to deliver. And there are times when we'll have to say, well, no, we can't do that, but here's what we will do. And so I think, yes, being able to say no is important. but also being able to say no, but willing and able to offer alternatives, or willing and able to find another way forward from that no is really key, because again, it's about managing expectations. So will they be upset in the moment of that no? Sure. But do we have the opportunity to turn that around, or to make that better down the road? We absolutely do. And that's our job, is to, it's not a one-shot deal. It's not a short-term thing. It's an ongoing relationship. We're building an ongoing relationship that we hope will remain both as a person-to-person, organization-to-organization relationship, but as a revenue-generating relationship, because we're in business. But the focus is always around how do we continue to build that relationship. And I mentioned earlier, I think empathy is a huge part of being in customer success. I also think curiosity is a big part of it too, and asking a lot of questions, and keep asking questions, and keep learning, maybe even keep challenging. Because that's something we do with our product team. We'll hear our customers' feedback, and the product team will say, well, here's our roadmap. And we might say, well, that's not what we're hearing from customers. How can we deliver what's right for them? How can we be curious about other ways we can provide a more valuable service, and challenge our assumptions a bit here? So, empathy, curiosity, and the ability to say no, but a no with some alternatives, I think is really important in customer success.
Yeah, I call it solutions-driven approach. So,
Absolutely.
you come with the solution. Like, that's what I hate, whether it's my team or when I'm getting an email from a client. So, don't give me problems, give me the solution.
Yeah.
I can accept what we can't do, but what I want to know is what we can do.
Yeah, exactly. Take accountability. Take accountability for what's going on. Own up to it, and then say, okay, here's what we're going to do next to figure out, how we're going to make it better.
Yeah, no, for sure. So I'm now going to change the ski slope if I continue with that analogy, because let's get deep and down. So you are exceptional, and the reason why I'll say that is because, if nothing else, we're talking about data. The data would suggest you are either exceptional or an accident. Because I was like, probably, and I'll throw the stat out there, and someone correct me if I'm wrong. I'll say less than 1% of leaders in technology organizations are Black. And this is a Black Tech Fest podcast for anybody who's unfamiliar. Like, you shouldn't be, because you found it this way. But just for people to be clear, so for those who might be listening and not able to see, Ed is a Black man in tech. And tell us how that happened, because I believe it's exceptional, not an accident. So tell us that journey. Tell us what some of the things that you felt or faced or had to contend with on that journey to where you are today.
Yeah, it's a good question, and I think I appreciate you saying that I'm exceptional, and I think based on data, we can make that argument. I'd like to say that I'm lucky, and then took advantage of the luck that came my way, and really worked hard at it. So my journey to get here to DataMinr is really, frankly, to me, a really good example of building good relationships and having a network that you can rely on. So I mentioned earlier, I had a long career on Wall Street. I was a trader at a big New York bank. I traded stocks for a long time. Transitioned out of that industry in late 2012, 2013, and started thinking, okay, what's next? What do I want to do next? I have an MBA, so I have options. I can do other things. I've worked in other industries. And I really started looking at the fintech startup industry in New York. I'm based here in New York, and New York was really becoming a much more prominent tech location or destination. Silicon Alley was the big term back 5 or 10 years ago. And I was like, well, let's take a look at that. I'd love to go work at a startup. I worked for this big behemoth international bank. Maybe it's time for something different. And where the relationship and the network came in was a former colleague from my Wall Street days had literally just gone to work at DataMinr, and a month or so before, and rang me up and said, hey, you should take a look at this company. They've got a product based on financial markets. You know a ton about the financial markets. I think you'd be great at this company if you're interested. I think you talk about social media in our own casual conversation, so I would think this would be a home run for you, or come check it out. Or a 6, I'd say. I guess if I'm talking to those of you Brits, home runs are baseball, but I'll use a cricket analogy.
I love it.
So, So I took a look at the company, and luckily the timing is right, and it was a great opportunity to get into technology, to get into a company that wasn't fintech but was connected to finance, that allowed me to use my knowledge as a financial professional, and contribute right away, which is rare that you go someplace new in a new industry and get to turn the machine on, so to speak, and contribute right away. So that was a great opportunity. But it was also a company that had raised some money, so they were in the right place from a structure standpoint. They were still fresh and new, so there was a lot of opportunity, both for me and for the company. And so again, the timing was right. I got lucky and I jumped into it. And the thing that I think was really important was looking at what the potential was, where I could go and where the company could go, and what I could do to shift my experience from being a long-term Wall Street professional to being a person in tech, to working in tech. And to your point, Ashley, I don't have a engineering background, a technical background. I can code a little bit of Python, but I wouldn't say I'm proficient at all. Um, but I put myself in positions at the company to learn enough about the tech to be dangerous, so to speak, but also bring in my perspective and my expertise about the content and about the areas that mattered for the people that were using our platform. And so again, it was a great opportunity for me to learn something new and to keep challenging myself to learn new things, but also to bring my own contribution and voice to the conversations about what we were doing. And the beauty of coming to a company when it's still small is you get to do a lot. And I put myself in a position to do a lot of different things and to kind of have many jobs over the beginning of my career here, which I think led to me being someone that was willing to raise their hand to do those things, or able to jump in when asked to do something new. And ultimately, my role as a customer success professional at the company is really perfectly geared toward all my experience that I had in the past, knowing the content really deeply, knowing the customer really well, coming from an industry that used a similar product, and then just being willing to learn and to try and to fail a little bit, to learn again, and put myself in a position to to have some good success here personally, and to see the success of the company as an organization, and to still be a big part of that going on. So it's been an amazing 7-year journey, and I'm looking forward to continue it, and just really excited to be where I am right now.
Amazing. Well, there's two things I want to call on that, because maybe you're self-deprecating as well, because I think it's important. Like, I think there's often a narrative that you, and I think we've all felt this as Black professionals, that you have to be better or exceptional in order to succeed, because the cards of the industry is stacked against you. And I know you mentioned a lot, but I don't want people to feel that, from listening to this, like, unless I get a lucky break, like that's not going to be for me. But I was reading a book about it, and luck, there's, you can call it serendipity. It's like, making your own luck, so to speak. Like, how, and what would you say to folks who are in industry, or who are thinking about getting in, or who are already there and thinking about how they can do that? How can you reflect on your time about how you might have engineered some of that luck? What was it that made that happen? Was it just, me playing the lottery, or were you in the right place at the right time? And if that was the case, you knew someone. How do you make sure that those things start to happen? What are some of your reflections on that?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think you're right. I mean, it was serendipity that the timing worked out. It was, it was good fortune that I had a good relationship with this individual, and they looked out for me when the time was right, when they saw an opportunity. But I think the key was, really being open to the opportunity, and I think I was at a good point in that transition that I was in, that I wasn't turning away anything. I was interested and open to looking at anything and everything to see what was out there. And it wasn't that I had no standards that I would take anything I could get, but I was open to exploring the possibilities of what was out there. I didn't know DataMinr existed before early 2014, and then I get a call from a friend and says, "This is here, and take a look," and here I am. So I do think that there's a little bit of that serendipity involved, but I think ultimately it's when you see the opportunity, when you get that lucky chance, then you decide, well, how am I going to commit to this? Am I going to be willing to do the things that I need to do? Am I going to learn new things? I want to be in some uncomfortable situations in order to, to grow and to learn in this new organization. Am I going to be curious? Am I going to work to build relationships in this new world so that I can understand it better and to continue to have opportunities? And so for me, I really embrace it as a great challenge, as a way to kind of reinvent myself. And so, I used my relationship building skills to build a network, not within just my own group, but also across the company. So I would have a sense of what's always going on in different places and where there are opportunities to be and where I could contribute. I also spend time really just trying to make sure I mastered my new craft. As a trader, when I worked on Wall Street, I was constantly working and informing myself to master my craft. And when I came to DataMinr, I tried to make sure I did the same thing. And let's learn about what people are looking for. What else is out there? What are the trends that are really popping up that we need to be informed upon? And then the last thing was really just making sure that I stayed humble on some level and always knew that when I was in a room, yes, I have a contribution to make. I have knowledge and experience, and I should use that voice. And I, often did that. But there was also a group of people in the room that I could learn from, and to be better at what I do, just based on listening to what they had to say. And a lot of that is based on the culture of the company. Frankly, the company's really had a culture of collaboration and a culture of low ego, so to speak. And coming from Wall Street, that was such a refreshing situation to come into a room that people know they're smart, but they don't try to throw that back at you in a particular way to make you feel less than. So it was, again, it was really embracing that opportunity and making sure that no matter what, whether I lasted a year or 7 years at DataMinr, that I was going to take something from it, and then I would also leave my mark on the organization as well.
Amazing. Got it. So, one thing I want to pivot on that is that for those who are less familiar as well, one, there's a great search engine and many others out there, which you can use to find it out. But broadly, DataMinr is what I would call a scale up. It's kind of pre-IPO, but super growth, big now. It's not kind of 10 people in a room anymore. What do you feel about kind of that that path of you've got a startup, you might have scale up, you might have kind of like post IPO kind of public big company, and then you've got your behemoths, your whales, your fangs and that kind of thing. Like what do you feel are some of the advantages and maybe disadvantages of working in that scale up kind of stage?
Yeah, I feel like a scale up is in a lot of ways is kind of a best of both worlds. We're in a place where we're not a pure startup. We're not even like a mature startup where we might still be fighting for better buy-in of our product or service. We're still trying to get name brand recognition out there. We're still looking for funding to continue to operate. Managing burn rate and those types of things that happen in startups. So we're not in a resource challenge situation. We have enough money and enough people to do the things we need to do, and we have some proven success, so we can leverage that. And we're not a post IPO or big behemoth in that, it feels like those companies have obviously proven their value and proven their their longevity and their viability. But those companies, I think, they're not as agile as they used to be when they were smaller. They're not able to kind of pivot and do different things. They're on a set path, and they have to kind of keep going on that path. And in some respects, and I don't know this from experience, my sense is that as those companies get bigger and bigger, they tend to lose that connectedness that you find in smaller companies. One of the things I've loved about DataMinr is being connected to people that I've known from day one. And even though we're in different parts of the organization, we can still rely on each other. We still cross paths, professionally on things, and that's really great to still have that connectedness. And we're not that big yet that you still can't drive that culture of connectedness within the company. So for us, we're in a great spot where we have a lot of funding. We've raised over $1 billion in our history as a company. We're fairly large, and so we have the right resources and structure and kind of infrastructure, so to speak, in place to be successful. But at the same time, we can still be a bit of a startup in some ways, and and pivot around certain ideas and keep iterating on the path we're on. We don't have to stick to a path because investors and stockholders expect us to. We can have a goal down the road, but that path is going to be like this. It's not going to be like that. But that's part of the fun. That's part of the challenge of it. So it's, there's an analogy, I use it a lot, or have used a lot, and I don't love using it, but I think it's appropriate. It's, we're flying the plane and building it as we go, which is challenging and exciting and fun, and occasionally frustrating, but mostly fun. And so I think that's really been the best part to me about being in a company now at this stage, especially having been here when we were 100 people and now we're 800 people. But still feeling like it still has the same energy and culture and passion, frankly, for what we do, that those 100 people had in 2014, that these 800 plus people have now in 2021.
Amazing. Well, I've heard that analogy as well. I just, from my experiences, there are different stages of that, and hopefully, as you're fixing the plane, one of the engines is still going. Because sometimes I've seen it where you're fixing the plane and it's like,
Yeah,
yeah, this is going down unless we sort it out.
yeah. No one's working on the engine while everybody else is working on the wings, right?
Yeah. But talking about that, so obviously you're based right now in NYC, New York, Silicon Alley, as they call it. But you know, I'm sat here in Europe. DataMinr sounds interesting. Do I have to marry an American? You know, do I have to apply to get a green card? Are you here? Like, you know, what's happening?
Yeah, we're a global company. And that's been one of the really exciting things about the history of the company and the time I've been here is we've gone from a New York-based company that really only had business in North America to a global company with offices across the world, with customers across the world. We provide information about things happening across the world. So, we are truly a global company. We provide information about things happening thousands of miles away from where I'm sitting in Brooklyn, New York. But we also provide information about things that are happening 5 blocks away from my apartment here in Brooklyn, New York. So it's a company that, whether you're in Europe, you're in Asia, you're in the United States, there are opportunities, at this company to be a part of what we're doing.
Amazing. Well, I wanted to make sure that we finished off our time with asking a few quick fire questions. So these are, you know, if you go back to the good old days where Twitter was 140 characters, or when, you know, you had to send off the SMS because otherwise it would turn into an MMS, which would charge you like, you know, $2 to send. I'm really showing it there, but we remember there's character limits here.
That's right.
So yeah, so if I ask you some of these, I'd love to break into some of these as like quick fire questions. So I'm going to shoot them at you. You can't think about them. Just say, spit from the heart. Tell us the truth. So I'm going to start off with the first one, which is, what is the best lesson you've learned the hard way in business?
Yeah, best lesson I've learned the hard way in business is take ownership of your decisions and take ownership of your responsibilities. Be accountable, and own up to when you make mistakes. Obviously, celebrate your wins, but really own up to those mistakes, because that'll put you in a position where, win or lose, good or bad, you're taking responsibility for what you did and your role in that, and that you're also pushing forward to fix that situation if it goes wrong.
Got it. Number two, what do your loved ones think you do, and what do you actually do?
That's a good one. And I used to get this when I was a trader too, but my loved ones now think that I basically scroll through Twitter all day and I know all the latest trends about what's going on Twitter. So, I'll get questions about, did you see what happened with the latest entertainer with, with Kanye or with, whoever it might be. So that's what they think I do all day. But what I do all day is work with my large corporate customers to help them understand how to access this information in real time to protect and keep secure their assets and their people and their brand. And that's really what it's about is tying this all together so that they can understand how the world is impacting them and how they can control or manage that situation on a day-to-day basis.
Got it. And my third question. So when you were young, what did you want to do?
This is a good one. I wanted to either be a race car driver, particularly Formula One, because it was such a different thing from American racing. And I was also really into photography at one point when I was young. And I thought, well, if I can't drive the car, I want to take the pictures, the photographs of the car. So it all centered around auto racing and Formula One in particular. And, if I could go back and do that, or if I could do it now, I would even take an opportunity to do it now.
Amazing. It's shared. I love photography as well. Cool. So number 4, tell us something that people can't find about you on your corporate profile or Wikipedia.
So the thing that would be surprising maybe to some, but and wouldn't find on my corporate profile at all is over the last year, my daughter, who's 10, and I have become pretty avid skateboarders. And so it is literally become an obsession for both of us. So we're only, if we're not skating, we're thinking about skating. If we're not thinking about it, we're sharing videos and tips about skating. So skateboarding is my quarantine, my new quarantine skill that's literally become, maybe the thing I'll do until I can no longer walk.
Amazing. That is definitely left to field, but I love it. And finally, so how do people connect with you and DataMinr more generally? For those who are interested and say, I like Ed, I want to work with him, or I want to buy from him, or yeah, like I'm interested in DataMinr and I want to find out more. Like, how do people connect with you and find out?
Yeah, I'd say the easiest way to connect with me, and I welcome anyone to reach out if you just want to chat about the industry or chat about customer success, or making a transition into tech, especially as a non-technical person. Find me on LinkedIn. I'm there. Feel free to reach out. And same with the company. Look for us on LinkedIn, and certainly we have a website. Please check out the website and see there's a lot of good information about what we do and examples of the work we do, as well as listing for career opportunities and lots of other stuff.
Amazing. I'll go off and do that quickly if I don't think I already am connected. But if not, you can find him, Ed Oliver, LinkedIn, and I'm sure there are other platforms available, but that's his preferred one, so don't stalk him. So with that, I'd just like to say a massive thank you so much to Ed. I think there's a lot in this conversation, everything from yeah, revealing of the bandwidth issues back in the early noughties, all the way to yeah, challenges of evolving customer expectations. But yeah, I just want to say a massive thank you for your time. I know this has come out incredible notice, so I really do want to say thank you to you and the DataMinr team as well for making this happen, and I hope everyone does enjoy that. For those who are interested, check out all the content on blacktechfest.com. You'll be able to find out more about DataMinr there. If you can't get in touch with us, then we'll definitely point you in the right direction too. We're at Color in Tech everywhere. So apart from that, have a great morning, afternoon, evening, day, wherever you are in the world listening in or watching. And I do hope you enjoy the rest of your time. Take care.
Thank you, Ashley. It's been a pleasure.